issues in New York State. This state's always the sort of the social beginnings of so much of this country. People come here, a lot of immigrants. The New York Times recently began posting the celebrations of gay unions. Not just straight people getting married, but gay people who want to announce their unions. Do you think New York State should recognize gay marriage?
No.
No. Okay. Would you, let's talk about it. I'm going to run through these, and then we're going to this kid right here. Would you apply an abortion litmus test when reviewing judicial nominees, especially the Supreme Court? Would you insist that a person be pro-choice before you accepted them?
I would insist that a person follow the judicial precedent, and I believe that Roe v. Wade was an appropriately decided decision, and that would play a role in my choices.
And if somebody stood up there like Bork or someone else or Scalia and said, I think that should be reviewed, you would say?
I would say, you know, it depends upon the person's record, but if they had a record of what I consider kind of a radical, non-mainstream judicial philosophy, I don't think that that's appropriate. I think we need to have judges who follow precedent.
Would you filibuster a nominee who was pro-life?
No, it would depend upon who the nominee was. And there are, you know, remember Mario Cuomo, who was at one time considered for the Supreme Court and is a staunch Catholic, and also because of his understanding of our Constitution and our laws and individual conscience and freedom is also pro-choice. You know, he is somebody who said, who's pro-life but wouldn't act on it, is somebody who said, look, you know, we've got to leave to the courts what should be the courts.
But if they're judicially and constitutionally pro-life and believe that Roe v. Wade was a bad call, a bad decision, you wouldn't accept them?
I would find it difficult to vote for someone who I thought wanted the government to interfere with the most personal of all decisions. This is something that should be left to your conscience, your religious beliefs, your personal decision making.
Right now, the Constitution, as written originally, prohibits immigrants from running for president. You have to be native born. Would you like to see that changed? To allow an immigrant to run for president, like the new governor of Michigan, Jennifer Granholm?
Well, I think that's one of the issues we should look at. You know, nobody's ever asked me that before. I think we ought to consider it. Yeah, well, we ought to consider it.
Do you think
I've never thought about it before.
If somebody came here and they were 2 weeks old or 6 years old or 20 years old, should Henry Kissinger be allowed to be president?
They're absolutely Americans.
Should Arnold Schwarzenegger be able to be president?
Well, now, we'll have to think about that.
In general terms, would you like to see the Constitution reopened in that area? And they
you know, I'm very reluctant to have the Constitution reopened because, unfortunately, there are a lot of very powerful interest groups who would do a lot of damage to what our founders tried to set up. So
I'm saying no to immigrant presidents and no to gay marriages.
Well, I believe in civil unions. I believe in domestic partnerships. I think marriage has both, you know, has a different meaning, and I think.
But you would recognize the union in New York State?
Yeah, unions and domestic partnerships.
Okay,
I think.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Attacked, and all those people were killed, and the Pentagon was attacked. Any president would have reacted.
Right.
They reacted in a very forthright way for 3 months. They went after Afghanistan. They began to use our international cooperation with the Germans and others to try to track down al-Qaeda. Then came the State of the Union address, and the president made his first big strategic decision. He said, we're going after this axis of evil. We're going to start off with Iraq. Was that a decision you're comfortable with, or do you think we still should have stuck to our guns and going after Osama bin Laden and track down the killers?
Well, Chris, I think we can do more than one thing at a time.
Well, what should we have given precedence to?
Well, I think that the idea, as I understand and have studied this with the administration, is that they believed that they were on the road to routing al-Qaeda. We now, unfortunately, know that it's likely bin Laden is still alive. And as that sends a signal to not only the al-Qaeda network, but wannabe terrorists around the world that, you know, we haven't gotten them. So the job is not done. The attempted linkage between Iraq and what happened to us on September 11th has never been proven, but there is a very strong argument that any rogue state, particularly one headed by a person of such megalomania and a history of gross miscalculation like Saddam Hussein, in this new world where you've got organized terrorists with money and means and global reach, who could therefore get access to weapons of mass destruction, means that we have to put some attention there. I don't think it can be either or. Now, you know, I voted for the Iraqi resolution, and it was a very difficult vote for me. Now, you know,
why don't you, it's great. Good. Okay, we're going to do with this, okay, you know, I get the message. We got the message. You know, it's something we try to do.